Good morning. This is Rachel with Infused Meadows, and this morning I'm making some breakfast burritos for my husband for the week, and I thought I'd bring you along. So in this bowl I have 12 eggs that I've beaten with a fork. You puncture all the yolks to make that easier, and then you just vigorously whisk with your fork, and then I added about a half a cup of milk, whisk that in. I have some cooked and cut up hash browns. In this bowl I have some freshly grated white cheddar cheese, and then I have some homemade American breakfast sausage. I'll do a video whenever I need to make some, so that, you know, in the event you want to make your own, you can. I have some chopped up onion that I'm going to be sauteing first, and then I have my spices that I'm adding. You add whatever you like to your breakfast burritos, but for my husband I'm doing my homegrown dehydrated green onion, the full thing. I've got a half teaspoon of salt. I'm going to be adding black pepper as I get my eggs in there. I have a half teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of onion powder, and a half teaspoon of dried and ground bell pepper. Now, this is my own red bell pepper. If you have a fresh bell pepper, then add about half of a large one, chop that up nice and neat, and saute that in with your onions whenever you go to do that. So for right now, I'm going to get my onions in the pan and get these moving. I'm doing 2 of my handfuls, so we'll say a third a cup of onion. And then you're going to saute that, you're going to move that around. You can put in your pan oil or butter. From there, it's up to you. You're going to do this until they become translucent. And they're slightly soft. Well, they should be soft. But you don't want them like mushy. You just want them to turn translucent, and then we're going to add our eggs. So I'm going to let this move around for about another, we'll say 30, 45 seconds. Then I'll be adding my egg in. I'll bring you back at that point. So I have my onions where I want them. They're starting to go clear, translucent. Now I'm going to add my egg. So, pour your egg in. Scrape your bowl. Put your bowl in the sink. Let this cook for a second. Add your black pepper. So the thing with breakfast burritos, you do not want to cook your eggs all the way through. They are not runny, but you just want to cook them to where they stick to your spatula and they don't just run off. But if you get them to where they are completely done, then what happens is that when you go to reheat your breakfast burrito, your eggs are going to be very dry. So we're not going to do that. I just take my spatula, as you can see, I go from the outside, push to the center, and I do that all the way around my pan until I get so far, and then I'll start to move them a little bit more vigorously. So these breakfast burritos are perfect for your freezer. And then what you do is you lay one out in your refrigerator the night before, let it thaw in your refrigerator overnight, and then the next morning you just throw this in the microwave, do about 30 seconds, turn it over, and do another 30 seconds. I personally wrap with a paper towel, and in the in the microwave, you do whatever you want to do. So when you put these together, what I personally do is I wrap these up in baking paper, and then I wrap them again in aluminum foil, and I put them into a Ziploc freezer bag into the freezer. And just like I said, pull these out the night before you want them. Into the refrigerator it goes, and then the next morning you have a breakfast burrito. You can add whatever to this you want. I'm now going to add my spices, which I told you what they were. Sorry for the silence, I'm focusing. But I guess instead of silence, I could just pause you right and bring you back. I'll do that. Okay, so my eggs are still shiny, but they're not sloshing off the spoon. Sorry, spatula. And there's no runny liquid in here. So toss these, turn my heat off. And then I'm going to let these cool before I assemble my breakfast burritos. And I'll bring you back at that point so that you can see. Okay, so our eggs have cooled, not completely, but enough. So what we want to do is we're going to sprinkle on some of our cheese. I personally don't make these too cheesy, but if you want cheesier, by all means, you add as much cheese as you'd like. Sprinkle on some of the breakfast sausage. I'm only going to show you like one or two of these. There's literally no point in doing all of them. You'll get the point. So I do a layer of cheese, a layer of the breakfast sausage, and then a layer of my hash browns. And then to this, I'm going to add on my egg. The great thing about the breakfast burritos is that you can change these any way you want. Alright, bring your sides in. And then what I like to do is put my ring finger on the bottom, grab this here, bring it over, and then you're going to pull that back, okay? Pull it back, and then from there, what I do is I give it a half fold, and then bring these sides in, and then finish folding. And then I move this over to my other cutting board, and start with my next one. So you got your cheese, breakfast sausage, hash brown, and your egg. Like I said, you season your eggs however you want. You want a Mexican style, add yourself some like taco seasoning with some of the nacho cheese instead of the grated cheddar. You can go with just plain if you want. Your breakfast burrito, you make it the way you want. So, sides up, ring finger down, at least this is my way, over, grab it, pull, half fold, bring the sides in, and then just finish your roll. And then, like I said, I move this over, and I'll bring you back at the end. So you have your burritos made, and I like to give them a few minutes while I do that. I clean everything up in the kitchen. And then you want to get yourself some parchment paper and some aluminum foil. So the easiest way I can tell you to do this, take your breakfast burrito and then just lay it out. Right, 1 to that, 2, and then a 4th. So this is roughly 2 1/4 of this. You will take your breakfast burrito. I set mine at an angle. It's probably just something I picked up at the restaurants. But bring this over, hold it, lay it down. Bring this, flip, roll. Grab the other side. Bring that up. Tuck that in, and then you're going to roll. Next, grab your aluminum foil. You're going to do the same thing. Put that there. Make sure it cooperates. Grab it, tuck it over, nice and tight. One turn, bring this side up. Nice and snug. Roll, set aside, and then do your next one. So it's the same thing. You're going to take it, bring this over, tuck, down, tight, do a roll, up, make sure it's cooperating, put your fingers there, just bring your roll. Grab your aluminum foil, Same thing over. And if you do like I've just done and you don't quite have enough, just move it over a little until you can bring this around. And then over. Bring this up. Hotly. Cooperation is key. And then roll. And there you go. So all you're going to do is put these, I put these into a Ziploc freezer bag. Put these in my freezer. The night before, lay it out in the refrigerator, okay? So that way the next morning you just grab one and you're either going to, I don't know, microwave this at home or at work, whichever you're doing. Remove the aluminum foil, but you can keep it in the baking paper. The baking paper is fine. Do not put metal in your microwave, okay? And then like I said, 30 seconds, flip it over, 30 seconds, fill of it if it's not warm. And this depends on the microwave you're using. If it's a high-powered microwave, 1 minute and you're going to be good. You may need a minute and a half. But if it's a low-powered microwave, you might need more, like 1 minute, flip it, and 1 minute. So it literally just depends on the microwave that you're using. But I hope you give these a try, and I hope you like them. So, as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.